won't be, but it will be back and forth.
Pronouns are she and her. Challenged by our liberating faith, we discover deeper spiritual meaning, nurture loving community, cultivate courageous connections, and partner in the work of justice. Welcome to all of you on the live stream and in person. We are pleased to have guests with us in this room and participating virtually. I encourage you to reach out to our Director of Member Relations, Kelly Green. Her email is on the screen. We have large print orders of service, personal hearing assistance devices, and an elevator available. There's also a hearing loop in our alternate worship space downstairs in the Bernstein room. We have coloring pages and fidgets for all ages in the vestibule if that is useful to you or your children. And I'd like to call attention to a couple of things in your order of service. First, there is going to be today a How to Have Difficult Conversations class from 11:30 to 2:30 in the Bernstein room. We can all use a little help with that, I think. And the Board of Trustees is proposing several amendments to our bylaws focused on sections relating to voting. So there will be a special congregational meeting for the vote Sunday, March 24th at 11:30 after the service here in the sanctuary. Again, a warm welcome to each and every one of you, whether you are here in person or joining via live stream, whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday.
Good morning. I know you're going to hear good morning from a lot of people this morning. My name is Kathleen Carpenter, and my pronouns are she, her. And I am here to tell you that today's service is being led by your Board of Trustees, or at least 5 of the 9 members. There were supposed to be 6 of us, but unfortunately Michael is ill today. But we are delighted to be with you to share. I am now going to read worship. We come to this time and to this place to rediscover the wondrous gift of community, of free and religious community, to renew our faith in the holiness, the goodness, and the beauty of life, to reaffirm the way of the open mind and the loving heart, to rekindle the flame of memory and hope, and to reclaim the vision of an earth made fair with all her people one.
for our chalice lighting words today. Our much admired and beloved board member Gwen Movius opened a recent board meeting with this reading. And though today's service is definitely not a Board of Trustees meeting, you should be thankful, we thought the poem's message, conveying a spirit of community and care, was equally appropriate for this service as it is for a board meeting. So here we go. A Chalice Lighting for Businessy Meetings by Lee Kinvey. Amidst the paperwork and preparation, amidst the emails and emotions, amidst the getting it done and the pressure of time, can we find a little space for lifting our heads in wonder that we're still here, still striving, still trying together? Can we find, hearts accepting all the complexity, space for falling a little bit in love with this faith, again, with its tenacity, its capacity, even its audacity. Space to hold what we still believe is possible without hiding it behind disclaimers that attempt to shield our hope from cynical critique. Can we enter this workspace, this sanctuary, with a felt sense of our deepest values and the ways we can liberate them to humanize the processes and forms of our decisions and actions, our structures and governance? We light our chalice in hope that we center love and relationship, creativity and community as we meet in hopes that we can invite into our own hearts and into the space between us so much obvious respect and spacious grace that no matter what happens here, we emerge connected.
It occurred to me as I was sitting there that I said that 5 members of the board are here on the diocese, but there are also several members in the congregation. I was wondering if they could stand up right now. And Ben must be downstairs.
He's on security, safety detail.
He's doing security so that we are secure.
Safety, not security. I'm not supposed to say security.
Okay. This morning's reading is an excerpt from a longer article written for UU World, the quarterly magazine published by the Unitarian Universalist Association. It was written by the Reverend Peter Morales, who is a former president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, and it's titled, "Service is Our Prayer." Many of our congregations recite the following affirmation: love is our doctrine, the quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. I've always been intrigued by the notion of service as prayer. When I was young, I was taught that prayer was words that expressed gratitude, contrition, always, and lots of contrition, and requests for blessings, healings, wisdom, and strength. We prayed alone in silence and together out loud. Yet, if prayer is the word we use to describe connecting to what is sacred, I think service may be the best form of prayer. And if the purpose of a spiritual practice is spiritual growth, then service is a powerful spiritual discipline. I have seen again and again how service transforms people. No one who commits herself to service remains unchanged by that experience. When we serve, we become more compassionate, more sensitive, more understanding, and more aware. We're reminded of how precious and fragile life is. We experience our vulnerability and our deep need for one another. When we serve, we experience what love can do. Spirituality and service are two sides of the same coin. Deep spirituality, a loving nature, expresses itself in action. An action that springs from love deepens us and makes us more loving. Love and action cannot be separated.
Good morning. My name is Shannon Maples. My pronouns are she, her, and I have been a member of this community for nearly 11 years. The image on the screen, kind of blurry, is a photograph of my family when we were a little bit younger, along with a room full of people in Freeman Hall, packing lunches to be donated for a local shelter. This service opportunity, many of you know, is called Operation Sandwich, and it's kind of a metaphor for my reflection today. Thought it might be fun to just show an image of a sandwich and see what you all thought about that. I'll come back to the metaphor. Service has never been optional for me. I remember even back in high school having a deep awareness of all the suffering in the world and feeling a responsibility to do something about it. As a young adult, I saw opportunities to serve people in crisis, thinking that was where I might make the most difference. I spent several years as a volunteer counselor for survivors of rape and domestic violence. Our shifts were 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., and this was before everyone had a cell phone. So I'd be awakened in the middle of the night by the beeps of a pager, and I'd rush to the hospital emergency room to provide support, resources, and a non-judgmental listening ear. I later became a guardian ad litem, advocating in the court system for children in foster care. All of that was hard work. Sometimes I knew I was making a difference, connecting a woman with a shelter where she could safely spend the night, convincing a judge that the teenager I was working with needed to continue horseback riding lessons despite no longer living with her parents for the sake of her mental health, receiving hugs from toddlers who didn't understand why I visited them every month, but they did recognize me as someone who cared for them. None of that was ever enough to soothe the pain in my heart about all of the other suffering in the world that I could not begin to address. I was a member here in 2016 when our congregation adopted a new vision statement. We are a loving, liberating religious community inspiring spiritual, societal, and environmental transformation in the larger community, in our congregation, and in the personal lives of children, youth, and adults. As a community, we agreed we wanted to better understand issues of systemic injustice and inequity. We challenged each other to advance our vision of justice in the world. Along with many of you, I see a lot of familiar faces, I participated in classes, workshops, and book discussions about racial justice, economic justice, cultural justice, and environmental justice. I worked in teams, including the adult religious education team and the intersectional justice team, to encourage greater understanding of those issues and to support grassroots organizations making a direct impact in the community. Somewhere along the way, I noticed that I had found something in my service here that I never had with other organizations: hope. I am still too deeply aware of the world's suffering. I am still too deeply aware of the limits in my ability to make a difference. And yet, now we go back to my Operation Sandwich metaphor. A group of individuals and families working together were able to pack hundreds of sandwiches in 20 minutes or so. Many hands make light work. And so it goes beyond sandwiches. This congregation of hundreds of people is committed to advancing justice within our local community and in the larger world. We are committed to raising our children and our grandchildren to live those values as well. Sharing the work with all of you has finally soothed that pain in my heart. Most of my service work these days is as a member of the Board of Trustees, and for me that often means developing agendas, taking detailed meeting minutes. As part of the board, I seek to ensure the continuity and vitality of this community that means so much to me. It's because we are in this together, and together, what a difference we can make.
Hello, my name is Craig Miller, and my pronouns are he, him. I've been a member here for 13 years and am currently serving my first of 3 years of service on the board. One of the primary reasons I sought a spiritual home here over 13 years ago was that I really wanted to be more involved in service to others and along with others. But I found it to do so difficult to do so in a regular and organized way. When I came to the UUCC, I pretty quickly joined with others in some volunteer activities and learned about so many other opportunities to serve alongside other members. And that was one of the main reasons I decided to join here. Once I was a member, I was introduced to the 7 UU principles. I learned that they are a part of the covenant to which all UUs pledge themselves, and that they call on us to live and act in a certain way toward each other and within the world. Reflecting on the principles, I feel that one of the main calls to action interwoven throughout all of them is the call to serve. Through the proposed revisions to Article 2 of our bylaws, principles, and purposes, we've been introduced to a set of values that may become part of our covenant, and they equally call on us to put our energy into service. The call to serve is readily apparent when reading some principles and values, but maybe not so much in others. Service becomes especially more apparent when you think about all of its different forms, as it's not just traditional acts like volunteering to help build a house, but also small individual acts like listening with an open heart, offering a sincere compliment, or even something like reading a book about climate change, because that may empower you to take action. So let's look at the second principle: justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Being compassionate calls on us to listen and react to others with an open heart and mind, to offer kindness and respect toward others. To me, these are acts of service. When we listen to someone who is in despair and offer kind words, we are being of service in their time of need. The collective performance of these small but consistent acts can help lead to a more just and equitable world. Looking at the fifth principle, the tying to service doesn't necessarily leap off the page. It reads, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. We're all aware of the many attempts to suppress voting rights in our country and state. UUs have a long history of service in this area, and there are many opportunities organized through the Unitarian Universalist Association and by our own congregation, including UU the Vote. Another example is staying informed about and participating in voting here at the UUCC. We have 2 such opportunities for members coming up. One was already mentioned, coming up on March 24th about amending our congregational bylaws with a focus on sections related to voting, and another on May 5th when we'll vote on a new minister candidate. Switching from principles to values, let's look at the value of pluralism. For me, it didn't immediately elicit thoughts of service, but upon deeper reflection, there are many examples of service that honor this value. Pluralism means that we are open and tolerant of diverse beliefs and opinions and sources of inspiration and meaning. Service may come in the form of learning about different religious traditions or engaging in dialogue with others who hold different beliefs and opinions. All done with the intent of embracing the other and finding some commonality. And because strong differences of opinion and beliefs are often what tears people apart, especially in today's society, honoring our pluralism through acts of service is especially important. I'd like to end my reflection by sharing some words that I read that were attributed to Reverend Kathy Ryan Starr, a UU minister who works with the Side with Love Action Center. They said, "We are all honeybees. One honeybee throughout its entire lifetime will make 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey, but thousands together make gallons." By the way, I did the math. It takes 9,216 honeybees their entire lifetime to make 1 gallon of honey. You're welcome.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place.
Good morning again. My name is Kurt Merkel. My pronouns are he and him. I've been a member here for nearly 30 years. How many of you have experienced the inspiration of our bylaws? Have you ever felt that spiritual lift from phrases like, "The board shall give notice of all annual and special meetings"? Of course not. I haven't either. Not directly, that is. But inspiration sometimes has unlikely sources. When I agreed to serve on the board 3 years ago, I told myself it was finally my turn to fulfill an obligation that many before me had undertaken, in the duty of crossing the I's and dotting the T's that keep the UU machine humming along. I didn't imagine it would offer the immediate gratification and inspiration that I had often experienced in some of my other volunteer activities, but I agreed nonetheless because I figured, looks like the pandemic is getting behind us. Plus, Jay and Eve have us set on a pretty good course forward. Well, the old proverb truly has been realized. These have been interesting times. Interesting and challenging. It has been a tumultuous time. I'm going to venture that this board has probably navigated some of the most difficult waters this community has experienced in recent memory. Jay and Eve's departure on the heels of Kathleen and Martha's retirement left us with very big shoes to fill and a congregation anxious and eager to do so. Add to that the proposed revision to Article 2 of the UUA bylaws, developing a right relations policy and a team, and the regular business as usual, and you have the makings of quite a topsy-turvy ride. I'm glad I didn't know what was in store, because I'm not sure if I would have felt up to the task. But believe it or not, I'm truly grateful for having experienced it. Though I arrived at this frame of mind only recently, I didn't expect a laugh on that. With the final year of my term concluding, I'm beginning to reflect on this whole experience. When I consider the many hours spent with current and past board members, I'm truly moved by the depth of their commitment and their enduring passion in the service of our community. I greatly appreciate and value all of them sharing their thoughts and their perspectives, knowing that we all see the world through a different lens and sometimes disagree. So many times I have grown from these interactions. Their time and energy are gifts that have benefited us all, and I have had the joy of witnessing these generous acts. I've been honored to share meals and engage in meaningful conversations with our members who entrusted me to listen to their thoughts and generously consider my perspectives. When I observe the passion expressed by so many of our members who advocate for the many sides of the conflicts we've navigated, I'm most moved by that which we all have in common. Everyone here, even in disagreement, deeply loves our community. Everyone here wants what is best for our community and wants us to thrive and grow. Through the hundreds of emails and phone calls and text messages and conversations with our wonderful staff, I've come to feel such gratitude for their heartfelt dedication to the UUCC. Alicia, Belinda, Christy, Kelly, John, Paula, they commit themselves to serving the continual demands that such a community requires. And I know they don't stop thinking about us when the clock strikes 5, or sometimes 10:30, when they leave for home. And finally, I've been deeply moved and inspired by Reverend Lisa since she stepped into the tornado that was our community 2 years ago. She uprooted her family and adopted us with courage and compassion to provide a simply astonishing amount of healing love. For all these reasons, through my service here, I've been able to discover deeper spiritual meaning, even in reviewing the bylaws. Now I invite you to rise in body and spirit, for hymn number 28.
Many moons ago, when I served this congregation as its Director of Religious Education for Children and Youth, one of the things that I did a couple of times a year was help with the youth services, the middle school and high school services that they presented. In doing so, I always worked with the team who had to do the offering words, because they always would say, "What do I say other than give money?" And I would say, "Well, if you just say give money, people won't give money." I said, what you need to do is convince them that this is a place worthy of them giving money. So tell us about why this place means something to you. And I never knew what they were going to say, and I always worried that they would stand up at the pulpit the next day and say something like, "My parents make me come on Sunday morning, but at least there's a room." But they didn't do that. What I'm here to tell you is they would stand up here and they would say things like, this congregation has provided me with a safe place. This congregation has provided me with a place where I can share and know that other people will listen to what I have to say with respect. This congregation is a place where I feel at home. And then some would go on about the trips or special programs or service projects, whatever, and they would talk about how those things led to friendships that they would not have had otherwise, some of which I can tell you continue until today. All in all, these speakers always presented a picture of a youth program worth financially supporting through contributions to their congregation. And you know, when I had to prepare the offering words this morning, I thought, you know what, the same things that the youth find here, the adults should find as well. We want a community. We want to form friendships. We want to feel safe in saying things that we might not feel safe saying other places. And we want to be respected and treated with love. It is our hope that you have found this place here, or you will. We are grateful to our members who pledge their generous financial support and make regular contributions to sustain the work of our congregation. While this offering is being taken, you're invited to come forward and drop a stone or marble, as the case may be, in the water to honor a milestone, a concern, or celebration.
join me in a time of contemplation or prayer. I invite you to breathe deeply. Breathe present to the spirit of life which is in us and through us and around us. To those human connections that give us strength when we struggle and celebrate when we are joyful. The gathered community hears and holds both difficulty and ease as we honor the experiences that make each of us who we are. We hold Judy Reynolds with love as she is now under the care of hospice. Our thoughts are with Sarah Graham as her husband enters hospice care. We celebrate with Kate Stroud on her engagement to Keith Runge. We celebrate with Laurie Reed on her engagement to Steve Wyatt. And we celebrate our phenomenal director of music, John Herrick, in celebration of his birthday today. And now, please join me in a moment of silence as we honor all the concerns and joys shared today, and those that remain in our hearts. Amen. Please rise in body or spirit as you are able for our closing hymn, Building a New Way. Please join me in saying our closing words. We extinguish this flame